Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the Ashes of Creation Community Podcast. My name is the Big Chick Giant, and today's guests, well, we had planned to have Ziz, who's here. Hey, Ziz, how you doing?
What's up?
And Mjolnir, which apparently could not make it, and also we have some technical issues because the avatars stream kit that I use to display our avatars apparently is not working, so we have to kind of play around that. We're gonna have somebody fill in for Mjolnir. He's actually switching, and oh no, wait, there he is. Hey, Grey Pelt, how you doing, man? I guess he's still working on his mic. So while Grey Pelt is setting up his microphone, like I said, sorry about the whole technical issues. It's kind of out of my hands, but we're trying our best. So like I said, first time for this. Grey Pelt is setting up his microphone, so he should be ready to go in a couple of seconds. And,
hi.
Oh, there he is. There he is. Hey, Grey Pelt, how you doing, man? Thanks for filling in, man. I appreciate it. I'm actually switching the names right now. Okay, so for those who are watching and who have not watched this podcast before, this podcast is pretty much planned and played and organized around Ashes of Creation. But it's not really about Ashes of Creation. It's more about the community members, which are awesome. So that said, let's jump right into the first topic, which is voice chat in-game. We had some pointers and a couple leaks that they're planning to include an in-game voice chat. So what I want to know now from Ziz and Grey Pelt, and Ziz can go first on this one, is what's your opinion on the whole voice chat thing? Because a couple games have it. I know a few games that had it, but it caused a lot of issues. So what do you think? Like, what do you want out of voice chat?
Man, that's something that's really interesting because a lot of people, and I don't understand why. A lot of people don't like or don't want voice chat. And their complaint is always, oh, I have to listen to people, 12-year-olds, like all this stuff. Like, there's always a button to mute it, right? So, like, the negatives, I don't see any negatives. And I love voice chat. I think it's awesome. I think voice chat is awesome. And anybody feel free to jump in here, but I have like a big long reason why I like it. Because if you go back to MMOs, like when I started playing Dark Age of Camelot and like EverQuest, right? And like old school MMOs back then were like totally new and different because there were no other games where you could play in a massive world with tons of people. So MMOs like cornered the market on this immersive online world, right? Like you were sucked into this thing because other games, like you're playing console, you're playing GoldenEye with two people, you know what I mean? You're playing Zelda. So it was this whole new experience that was like crazy, like different, right? Like I remember the first time I ever played an MMO. It was amazing. Now, though, there's so many games that do that. You got first-person shooters. You got, you know, all these games that have those communities and have all this stuff. So that really awesome thing that MMOs used to have, this online community, this immersion, this online world, it kind of doesn't have that anymore because so many other games have it.
All right.
So having this voice chat in game is just a whole nother level that should bring you into the game, that makes it immersive, that helps you build community with people. You know what I mean? Like I think going to a tavern and like every night, right? I get off work, I hop in this tavern, and it's these people, you know what I mean, that you get to talk to.
Okay.
So I think it's awesome. Like I hope there's no technical problems. Like I hope it doesn't slow down the servers. I hope it doesn't, you know what I mean? But like that stuff, like people are running Discord anywhere in their computer, so I don't know how much of a difference that'll make.
And they want to do Discord integration. It essentially has to have controls for the user interface that are more convenient to use from within the game that don't involve minimizing out of the game.
Okay, so
for sure.
All right, let me ask you this because I kind of agree. I agree with you both. And one of the things that I always do in this podcast, I always try to play the bad guy because, you know, somebody has to.
You are the bad guy.
I know, I'm the worst person in the world. Everybody, like, heresy, goddammit. I agree with, like, I would love to have voice chat, but I think all of us played some game at some point that had voice chat where you had this one little guy going, like, who doesn't shut up. So, how do you imagine it should, like, because I can imagine coming into like a node, which, like, let's say it's a metro and there's a shit ton of people. And I would like, you know, to listen to voice chat in the node because it's probably going to be like a market. And if you go onto a market in real life, you hear a lot of people. So how should that be handled? Because personally, I would like there to be a lot of channels that I can, jump in and jump out to, like with a press of a button, and then have like a different like voice lobby when I go into a tavern. Like this, what do you think? Like, how do you think it should be handled?
Grey Pelt, you're gonna say something? I saw you light up there.
They've talked about having the voice chats be based on things like raid and guild and parties instead of location. But if they did have things like voice chat for the tavern or voice chat for a node, I would at least want that stuff to be able to be moderated by like the mayor of the node and appointees, or like the owner of the tavern.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like your chat already, right? You have say, which should be local. You have zone, you have party, you have raid, you have guild. And that happens already. Like if you go in WoW right now, there's options where you can click a checkbox and automatically decline all duel requests.
Yeah.
Or automatically decline all guild requests, right? You can have the same thing. You have an easy little interface with checkboxes that says automatically mute, local, whatever. So maybe you only want to listen to people in your party, right? Or whatever. There should be options there. And I think one thing I agree with you, like I would want to listen to the node too. And if I walk into a marketplace, I want it to sound like a marketplace. And if I leave it open, that potentially leaves it open for some idiot to just be screaming, right? And then you could like, you'd have to find them and click on them. Like, and when you're in a first person shooter, it's really easy because you have the list on the left. You see who it is, you right click, you mute them. In a PvP, you would like kind of have to find them. Like, like you could hide in a bush so people can't find you. Like, how would they mute you? You know what I mean? Like, but what I hope is it's more than just a generic voice chat, but I hope it takes proximity into account as well. Because that's what's really going to make it feel more ingrained in the game. If you're in a tavern and everybody has the same volume level, that isn't, you know what I mean? That's not special. That's not different. But if there's proximity where I can walk over to a table and then hear what those people were talking about, and maybe they stopped talking because they were talking about some PvP plans, and they look at me and they're like, what do you want? Leave, right? And that gives you that like kind of dull murmur where you're in a marketplace and you kind of hear people, but you don't because they're far away. So then you have that person who's yelling and you see who it is, because you don't really hear them until they run up to you, and then it's like, oh, that's the person that's yelling. I want to mute them. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I get that. I get that.
So I mean, there's systems, there's ways I think they could do it. They could be interesting, and there could also be community stuff where, like, if more than 50% of the people have muted you, maybe you're automatically muted, you know, or stuff like that. Like, I mean, like gold sellers and spammers.
Yeah, I mean, what I would like to imagine. It's like a little dream of myself for me, because I know this is never gonna happen. But can you imagine like going into a siege in this big PvP fight and everybody from both sides are on the same voice channel?
Right.
Like, that mayhem, that chaos in voice.
You want it to be like Braveheart or something, where you're like in the battle and you hear people yelling.
Yes.
And that's why I think the proximity would come in awesome, because you would hear people close to you better than farther away. But then, like, let's say far away something crazy happens and 20 people all of a sudden start yelling, and you would hear directionally what is going on over there, but you can't really make it out until you start running over there and there's like, oh, they're on fire. What, you know what I mean? Like, that's where they have to make it better than just, oh, we added Discord in game. That's kind of boring, you know.
I think that would make organized groups avoid the voice chat, though, if both sides could hear the voice chat.
I mean,
they could still, I agree with you. I mean, you could still just use your own voice chat as well. But I mean, I think a lot of times, especially we're a year and a half, 2 years from launch. We're on a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, we are the 1%. You know what I mean? I think there's still most people who would just be there having fun. You know what I mean? Like, there would be a lot of people still using it because they're not trying to get that little bit of an advantage.
I mean, have any of you ever played Guild Wars 2?
Oh yeah.
All right. And I don't know. There are these big like server TeamSpeak servers, right? And it happened to me a lot when I was still playing active Guild Wars 2. That you had these role-playing guilds actually doing world versus world runs. And I remember one time I saw this big like Zerg group in one of the channels. I'm like, oh, you know what? I gotta jump in there. And I'm jumping in there. Like, they're like, I'm asking where you guys at, and they're like, oh, we're here, like with a really weird accent. I'm like, oh, holy shit, what is this? And I get to the fort, and they're all kneeling, like in order, like a real like platoon, you know, everybody is in line, and then I hear the leader is like, the enemy is at the gate, they will kill us, but they will never take our freedom. And I'm like, this is so awesome. I ended up running with him for the rest of the night. And I think with having a proximity chat, and I think this is my own personal opinion, where you can easily opt in and opt out, I think that would I think at some points it will cause, you know, like this guy's getting my nerves and gonna opt out. But at sometimes you're probably gonna have situations like this, which I'm actually personally looking really forward to.
Well, and you also have, because it's an open PvP game, there's no factions.
Yeah.
That person is annoying you, I'm gonna kill you. Because
yeah.
you've been yelling, you've been saying stupid stuff, you're just dumb, like I can kill you. Like so you get to moderate it that way as well. You know what I mean? So that's why I think it's awesome. Even if you don't want to be an RPer, right? Yeah. Like when you make it easy for people to get engrossed in the game, everybody benefits. And that's why one of the big criticisms or counterpoints is people like, well, you don't need to spend resourcing time. You don't need to spend dev time doing this because there's already options. You can already use TeamSpeak. You can already use Discord, right? Why don't you just do that? But again, the majority of people, if I go into a quest, like we were talking about Guild Wars 2, if I go into a public quest, do I want to say, hey guys, let's all get on a TeamSpeak, and then some people need to download Team, right? That never happens.
No.
That's never going to happen ever. But if I can just go in there and see one person fighting a giant spider, and I'm like, hey buddy, don't worry, I'll help you out. Hey, back up, I'll heal you over here. Boom.
Yeah, I get
right?
that.
You just,
I get that.
You know what I mean? And that's why, like, I think like a lot of people hate Apple, right? Apple computers and all this stuff. Yeah. But that's the one thing they did, was they made it as easy as possible. You have to take away those things that stand in the way. Even when they're easy, you know, downloading TeamSpeak isn't hard. But when you get rid of all that little stuff in the way, more people use it and it benefits everybody.
True. Grey Belt, do you have anything to add? Anything you want to say before we jump to the next topic?
I like having the ability to stumble upon role players out in the open world. Yeah. But there should maybe be a like special voice category for role players as opposed to a proximity one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they might. The way I imagine it, that you have a whole menu for voice channels. The ones, you know, that activate per proximity, the ones that you always want to be in, like stuff like that. I think that there is a lot of ways they can pull it off. It's just, you know, how many resources can they put into that system? I know they want to put Discord in it, and Discord, like, over the years actually evolved to a point where I'm like, oh dude, this is actually pretty awesome. So they might even pull something off that nobody's expecting.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things, and maybe why other games haven't done it in the past, is think of how hard it's going to be to monitor the voice chats.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be so many of them. When you have a regular chat, you can have systems and things that look for keywords. So if people are doing ERP in a regular, you know, /say channel, you don't want 10-year-olds stumbling upon that. It's easy to quickly find that stuff in chat and try to block it, right? But when you have thousands of people in a game, all these games, all these taverns, there are going to be so many voice chats, you would need active ears listening in. Unless you have some sort of Google CIA process running in the background that can listen to keywords, you know, otherwise it's going to be really easy for people to just walk in and be like, what is going on here? There's some ERP chat, right? Just think of Twitch chat. Think when you get like those massive Twitch chats, it goes crazy. People are yelling curse words. People are saying racial stuff. Like, that can also happen, and it's a lot harder to monitor.
I mean, from somebody once explained this to me, because, you know, Overwatch has active voice, and I talked to somebody who actually knew a lot about the way they run their voice system, and I actually asked him, how does it work when somebody is like toxic on voice? How do you report them? And he's like, oh yeah, you report them, and the point where you report for the past, I think he said like 1 minute and 30, his whole, like, the conversation is pretty much recorded for a certain amount of time, like Shadowplay works. Yeah. So if they implement something like this, I think it would be like, yeah, I get that the reporting part is going to be hard, but I think there are ways to do it, especially if you get reported by several people.
But then you have to have people who report it. If somebody walks in and they don't report it and they just leave, right? I mean, what if you go into some chat and somebody's like, oh man, I've got this gun, I'm going to go shoot some people, right? Like, And then what if Ashes of Creation doesn't find that and doesn't monitor that, and then they actually do it, right? And then it's like, well, what's the liability? And then we're talking about the technical aspect. How much does that affect the servers where they have to be able to record voice chat like that? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
there's just a lot of things that they have to look at, but they've already kind of committed to it. Like they're really full on board. So I hope they've looked at all of these options. I'm sure they have, but
I'm sure they will.
Never know.
All right, let's jump to the next topic because this is actually one I'm looking forward to. Next topic is racials. We know that every race is pretty much going to have certain, different. It's going to have different stats and a couple other things going on. So when I say racials, when I say different races, like how do you expect the different races to be set up stat-wise? Like for example, how is a dwarf compared to a human, or how is an elf compared to an orc, or how are the Tulnars going to be set up? So, Greypelt, what's your opinion? Like, what do you think? What do you think we're gonna see?
So, first of all, what I'll say on that is I would like to see selectable racial stats. Like for humans, I don't think that the racials in most games are usually one size fits all when it comes to like whether you're going to play a fighter, whether you're going to play a wizard. It would be nice if you could have like various sets of things to choose from to make one or the other.
Right, like just because I'm a dwarf, I don't want to be pigeonholed into being tank. Maybe I want to be a cleric, and so I want. I like that.
I mean, in that aspect, and sorry, Greypelt, I'm just gonna jump in here real quick. You're gonna be able to continue in a second. For every race, we got 2 versions. Like that's something that I already looked into, which I think makes a lot of sense when it comes to the stats. All right, continue, Greypelt.
Even still, I think that there's like the Empyrean elves and the Pyre elves, but I think that you should be able to have an Empyrean elf that is set up as a really good healer or a really good tank, without racials that are trying to help you off with your healing when you're a tank.
All right.
Do you think they could find a way then to make those racials not class specific, but like
so like for example, a lot of games will have like profession related racials.
Yes.
I would sort of like it if all of the races had a like mining related racial, but each of the races had a different mining related racial, and you can pick your mining racial or you could pick your tailoring racial.
So like the elves can mine faster, but the dwarves, when they mine, gather more per attempt, so it equals out the same in the end.
Something like that, at least.
Like a flavor kind of thing.
Like, I'm not as much of a fan of, like, dwarves are the miners, and if you're going to make a miner, you need to make a dwarf because of the quality of the ore that they mine.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't that break immersion? To some point, because the way I explained it to myself is okay, because orcs rule. Just saying that the Renkai are more the warrior, the original orcs, big. I'm gonna break you. While the Vec are more like the mystical guys. So the way I set it up, okay, if you want to play like a melee or somebody that does tanking. As an orc, you're gonna go Renkai, and if you want to play, let's say, a caster or a healer, then the Vec might be an option.
And I'm not saying like all of this would be optimal. Some of it would probably be suboptimal. Like if you wanted to make a fighter Vec, the fighter bonus that you get for being a Vec might not be as good as the Tolnar fighter bonus.
Okay.
I mean, that's where what it really comes down to, though, is are the racials going to actually make a difference? Are they just flavor stuff that everybody's kind of equal, or are they actually going to have an impact and make a difference? And if so, then you're going to have imbalances, and you're always going to have people picking one race because it is the miner or it is the healer class.
Well, it's honestly
you can't make it all you can't make it all even, and you can't make it all different and matter. You know what I mean? Like, and I agree. Like, I don't want to get pigeonholed into having to make. Like, I don't want to be one of the Nikua, right? I don't want to be one of the ocean dwarves, right? I want to play like a normal mountain dwarf, right?
Yeah.
So like I like the idea of kind of having options with the race I want to pick, but at the same time I kind of always fall back to I would rather everything matters and your choice actually matters. Like I want it to be powerful.
I mean, the way I can see it work is, for example, let's say you want to play a melee class, all right? And I'm gonna take the orcs again because I love orcs. You want to play a melee class, all right? The rank high melee class is probably gonna be like a fighter, a two-hander, and it's brute force, right? And the Vec version of a melee fighter would be something more like a rogue, where it's more like stealth-wise, or maybe even if both races pick the same class, all right? Then maybe the subclass and the gear you use come into play. For example, a rank high fighter has to pick another subclass that provides, let's say, crit bonus that improves your crit, while the Vec version of a fighter has to go the haste way. I, instead of hitting once with a lot of damage, I need to hit the enemy often with more hits.
And they've talked about having racial augments to abilities, right?
Yeah.
And that sounds sort of like what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's kind of going down that road.
See, I would love it if, because generally we think about like bonuses being so pigeonholed, like you are an orc and so you are stronger, so your melee attacks do 5% more damage, right? What I would love to see is these things be powerful and make a difference, so your choice matters, but be applicable to everybody. So let's say the elf has one of their augments is your ability activates 10% faster. That is just as good for a healer as it is for a tank, as it is for a melee DPS. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you get flavor and you have the lore and everything to make that race different and special and impactful, but it still applies to everybody, right? So like maybe the dwarfs, they, whatever, it's a life boost, like, hey, I don't take damage or whatever, right? You can find ways to pick things that helps everybody, all in their own situation, I think.
All right. Yeah, I see that. Well, I do want it to matter, to be honest, in my own personal opinion, but I also see Greypel's point. Guess we kind of have to wait and see at this point.
Yeah, that's why they get paid the big bucks and they do the developing. So yeah, they just better pick the right thing, otherwise we'll be clamped.
What I don't want to see is a meta showing up that you have the best tank is a dwarf, mountain dwarf, because he has the race stat, he takes less damage. I want there to at least be one or two viable options. For example, okay, the dwarf takes less damage, the elf actually can evade more damage. There are different ways to approach certain situations to make everything, to make more than one thing viable for any situation.
And that's a balance thing, right? I mean, because you're always going to have people who say more life is always better. So they're going to say, you got to pick the dwarf because he gets 5% more life, and that's obviously always better. But if they balance it right, and the elf has a thing that says you dodge 30% of your attacks, or 50%, or 99% of your attacks, you dodge as an elf, right? If they balance it right, eventually you have to say, well, they don't have as much life, but they're just as good. You know what I mean? Like, so as long as that's their goal, and I think that has been their goal, right? Didn't they kind of say that they want, they said a tank is going to be the tankiest, but that doesn't mean it has to be the best, right? What if you're fighting a magic boss?
Yeah,
well, you're tankiest, but you just got hit with that fireball. So guess what? Now the tank mage, who is a Vec, is actually the best option. Yeah. So
I don't want the racials to be so strong that people don't play the race that they feel like they like the look of the most, or they like the emotes of the race the most. Like if the Valoon humans were just so much better than the Kalar, well, that's probably not a great example. If the Valoon were just so much better than the Vec, that no one would play a Vec even though they really liked the way that the Vec looked, that seems like it would be a problem.
Well, I guess it could be a problem. I mean, depends on...
it depends. Like, who are you balancing it to, though, right? See, that's going to be the thing.
And with that, I'm talking about balancing it for like the average player in the play.
Right, that's the thing, because you're going to have the 1% that will, no matter what game, what lore, what reason, they will always find the best option and say that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
But if they can make it to the general populace, 90% of the people don't really care because it doesn't make that much of a difference. But then you run into the same problem. If it's not that much of a difference, you have to balance that. If it doesn't matter enough, then it doesn't matter. And if it matters too much, then it pigeonholes you. You know.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
I'm fine with 10% of the players picking based on which racial is the best. I just don't think that it's healthy for all players to do that.
Right, sure.
I mean, it depends. Like I said, we're going based on the 10% finding somewhat of a meta, and going after, you know, the stats of the races based on certain situations. If you have several viable options that are all they're all the same, they're good the same, the worst the same for any sort of situation, I think that would somehow balancing it. For example, if you're a Vec healer and you have a certain class, say you heal, you support as a summoner, and you can somehow heal more than a priest. I don't want to talk about priest. I mean like a elf cleric. But then there is the Piri version of maybe, I don't know, Paladin that does the same amount of heal as a summoner. I know this now doesn't make sense, but I just want to get the point across is that if you have more than one viable option, even the 10% can't say, all right, this is the best. If you have like two other options that are on the same level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think you kind of got to balance that with like the way it feels in game. You know what I mean? Like if you see the general populace, just regular people in chat, and they're saying stuff like, I couldn't do this dungeon because I am an Empyrean. I wish I was a Dunir, right? And that's the general feel and the consensus from the majority of people. That's when you have a problem, right? And that's when you have to change it. When nobody has that complaint, like, oh man, I couldn't do this raid because I wasn't specifically this race. There's the problem. When you have the 1% and they're saying, oh, well, I did 0.03% more, you know what I mean? That you're never going to fix. Yeah. But you want everybody to be able to do all the content, you know, if they're capable, if they have the right gear and the right level and that sort of stuff. I don't want the race to stop anybody. I agree.
Yeah, I don't want that. But I also want it to be like to matter. Because so, all right, let's jump to the next topic, which is collision detection. We know that collision detection and player collision at all is in the game. That's pretty much confirmed. I read an argument on the forums the other day about this topic, and something was brought up. For example, one of the things that was brought up was in World of Warcraft. A while back, they had an issue where whole guilds were just standing on one NPC, and other people that were not in the guild, they were not able to talk to that NPC. So with player collision, I get it in PvP. I think it's great. I think it makes sense. It opens up a whole new way to do PvP, because now you can actually have, you know, like shield walls and that sort of stuff, which I find awesome. I never saw this in an MMO. I love the idea. But I can also see problems within, you know, node communities where guilds are like, you know what, we don't like that guild. We're just gonna block off their guild hall. So what do you think are good ways to go about player collision?
Well, I'm curious. I want to ask you two. Have you played either of you played any games that had collision detection, and what did you think of it in those games?
I have to think which MMO has collision.
Grey Pelton, have you played one?
I can't think of one that has collision specifically off the top of my head.
I played two.
Which
ones? ESO has it to some degree. It didn't originally, and they added it, and then also Cameron had it a lot.
Okay.
And it's great on paper. It sounds amazing when you say shield walls.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it on a very small scale, specifically to enemy players in PvP.
Yes.
So you can make those shield walls. Here's the problem, though. I have not seen a developer who's been able to implement it in a way that didn't just piss you off all the time. When they put it in ESO, you instantly went from being able to run around and do what you want. Now you get caught on every single blade of grass, the corner of every post. Like, it's in the world. Like, think if you were in the middle of New York City and there's 1 million people around you, you subconsciously and intuitively know how to turn your body a little bit and move a little bit and walk a little bit where you can get from point A to point B, right? In a game, it doesn't have all those intuitive things. So if you are one just millimeter micro pixel over to the edge, your huge character is instantly stopped because it doesn't have the ability of moving its arm just a little bit. You know what I mean? So you have all these annoying problems that went from that's a cool idea to this is just annoying all the time.
Is there a way to make the collision just work with other players and not the general environment?
Yes,
you can, and you can pick alliance people you can bump into. You can pick just enemy people. You can pick and you can pick the size inside your character, how big of a radius that is.
Okay.
I've just yet to play it in a game where I was like, this feels amazing. You have those 1 or 2 moments where you're like, remember that keep siege and we had a bunch of people stacked up and they couldn't get through and it was really fun. Yeah, those 2 times are really fun, but I can think of 2,000 times where it just annoyed me. So, I don't know.
My biggest concern with the collision is avoiding griefing with collision, and I think that could be partially avoided, at least if you put in a system that was like, if you press against someone for 2 to 3 seconds, you can just pass through them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you can make it. I think I saw this in Crowfall. When you have that, they called it a pill, but it's like inside your character, there's a little physical kind of object that is what collides with each other. And you can give that property, so you can make it sticky. So like against enemy players, you can make it sticky where when you bump into them, it's harder to get around them. Or you can kind of make it repel. So when you bump in, it's almost like magnets, where you can flip it around and they push each other apart. So I think there's ways they can do it, but again, that's development time and load on the server. And so you have to think of how much is it worth it? And then also, if you don't have it, because you're talking about griefing, one of the reasons for it is because if you do not have it, you can get 100 people stacking on a minuscule little spot, right? And you can instantly AoE people, right? You can get 6 people all around one person to instantly attack them. You know what I mean? When you have to spread out a little bit more, it opens up the option for movement and positioning and stuff like that too.
Well, like in terms of surrounding someone, I think one of the biggest concerns is making sure that the person that's being surrounded can get out of the center of being surrounded.
Well, do you want that though? If it's a PvP and we surround you, you want to give that person an option just to get out for free? I mean,
I think there should be an amount of cost to it. Like maybe if you're pressing against the wall for 2 seconds, you can't cast spells while you're doing it.
Right.
But they should definitely have a way of getting out if everyone around them just decides to AFK.
Right, yeah, if everybody AFK. Plus, because this game, most games that do it, it's only for your enemies. So when you're in friendly territory, you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about people blocking portals and stuff like that. But with this, everybody can be your enemy, right? So would they only activate it when you are actually in combat? You know what I mean? So like if we're friendly and we're not attacking, we're green to each other, then we have no collision detection. As soon as one of us attacks, then we do have it. And then I can't even think, but I'm sure there's problems that would arise if that was a situation too.
But I don't see a problem with that in general PvP, sieges and all that stuff. Like what I'm thinking of now is, within your node community, people blocking off certain aspects of the node with their guilds. That's like where I think there could be a problem. But if they
I think they want the collision to be on for PvE for like fighting a raid boss. So necessarily tying the collision to PvP isn't necessarily going to work out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have it, it also makes combat kind of weird. Like Dark Age of Camelot did not have collision detection. So one of the things you would do is they had positional attacks, where if you were behind them, you did more damage. So you would run straight at your target, whether it was PvE, PvP, whatever. You'd run straight at them. As soon as your character was barely past them, right, just a pixel past them, you'd hit your attack button. Your character would flip around instantly and attack them in the back, which is just weird feeling combat, right? You want to be able to have to strafe and move. Like if I'm attacking 2 people, if I strafe and only don't let the other person between us, you know what I mean? Like I'm keeping one of my enemies between me and the other one.
Yeah.
Then positioning matters, and then I can strafe and actually have some combat and strategy. Whereas when you don't have that stuff and the 2 people can just instantly walk straight to me with no regard to the other person, that makes it so much easier, right? Because then they don't get in each other's way, which is also kind of weird.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I mean, I
So-
honestly, I want it in PvP and PvE. Like, I want that, and I could say now that there has been something that made me really want it, but I would break my NDA if I would say anything else. So I'm not gonna say anything else. But like I said, if there's a system place to prevent, you know, like bullying, trolling within like your own node, I think that's the only place where I say, okay, this is now an issue. They are just trying to make my life harder. I don't have a problem with them. They just want to mess with people. At that point, I'm like, yeah, if they can separate those two aspects of the collision system, I think I personally would be fine with it.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, just big picture. I would think maybe like if you're in combat, you have collision, right? And so that takes care of like when you're just running around the market, you don't get stuck on little things that are, you know, that way when you're just moving about. And then when you're in combat, you have collision, but don't make it so sticky where like you bump into something and your character immediately stops, right? Have some momentum. So you're talking about Grey Pelt, how someone should be able to get out. If everybody just stood around you and AFK'd, if you pushed into them, it would slowly move them back and you would move through them. You know what I mean? Like, so you have that kind of momentum.
I don't know that I like moving other people, really. Like, are you going to find an AFK person near a cliff and gradually push them off?
Why not?
Yes.
That would be great.
Like I said, I'm the evil guy. I'm the bad guy.
Well, you would probably need to like involve flagging in that if you were going to push someone.
No, I mean
you would kill them, and then you would get corruption, and then you could take their stuff. Don't AFK on the top of a mountain.
Yes, who AFK is near a cliff? That's like MMORPG.
You deserve it. You deserve it.
all right. Let's jump to the next topic. Okay, for those of you who are watching and for those who don't know, Intrepid Studio is actually going to 2 events really soon. I think one is starting next week, already started. I don't have the dates, but one of them is the Game Developer Conference, and the other one is PAX East. So what I want to know now from you, Grey Pelt, is what do you want to get, or what do you want to see us being able to see from those events? I know GDC is mostly, you know, business and, you know, that stuff, so we're not probably going to get a lot out of that. Maybe some, you know, news from somebody. But what do you want to see at PAX? And if just one quick reminder, because us Alpha Zero testers, we have gotten some, you know, information, so just make sure not to say anything about that.
Yeah, I probably know what's actually going on too much to speculate too much. Yeah. I'll say the biggest thing I'd like to see from PAX would be an update on development timeline.
Okay. Anything game related, game content, anything you think you want to see? Because I know what I want to see.
There's not really much I want to see in terms of like new features because I want them to avoid feature creep.
Okay.
But I would like it if we saw more of the ideas that they've had turn into developed things.
Okay. What about users? What do you want to see?
I think so. We got 2 different ones. The first one's the Game Developers Conference. And this is just kind of showing off really the engine, because it's going to be the Unreal booth, right? Yeah. So it's not an Ashes creation booth. So talking about the engine itself, what I'd love to see, and I don't think we're there yet, we're probably not there for another year, but it would be amazing. Just imagine if they busted out, all of a sudden said, hey, guess what? Here is a giant PvP fight with like 100 people or 200 people, right? Like really kind of like said, like, you thought we couldn't do this with the Unreal Engine? Well, we're doing it already. Look at this giant fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would love to see that. I don't think it's going to happen, but that I would love to see. I would love to see a giant PvP fight. For PAX, they've been pretty quiet so far, so obviously they're working on something. We've seen they have the alpha, the zone, right? They have a dungeon they ran through a little bit. I mean, they probably have all that stuff polished, but I don't know if you could just do the dungeon. Like, I think the participants there at PAX will get to be able to run through the dungeon, and it'll be more polished. That will be their gameplay experience.
Okay.
But I think what they're going to show has to be something different, because they've already showed that. If they say, hey, here's the dungeon we've already showed you a couple times, and look, the mobs have a better pathing, and look, this is an armor you get. Like, that's not interesting. So what I hope they show is, I would love to see if they showed a monster coin event. If they showed Or actually, I changed my mind. If they showed a node that leveled up, because we've already kind of seen this leveling up system, where if they showed a node leveling up, but then it triggered an event. So people got to stand there, they hit a button, it triggers the node, and they're like, hey, this is what happens in the game. The node levels up. But then you see in the distance, the top of a mountain blows off and a dragon flies down and you fight the dragon. Like some sort of node event. That would be cool. That's what I want to see.
Okay. What do you think are the chances that we're actually finally going to see the summoner and maybe some of the other like race skins? Because what I want to see really bad is like the orcs and the dwarves. How are they going to look? Because all we've seen so far is art.
This isn't fair. You guys already know because you're in the alpha.
No, we don't.
It's a loaded question.
Trust me, we don't. Like I can say that without like we don't. Trust me, we don't. Like, but that's what I want to see.
It would be great to see, but I think right now they're doing all.
Oh wait! Let me interrupt you right now. You're not in the Alpha Zero?
No. Well, I'm not. I'm not in the regular Alpha Zero. I'm in the content creator Alpha Zero.
This is going to Steven. Steven, I know you watch this show once in a while. If you're watching this one, please do something about this.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Like this needs to be in the Alpha Zero.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
End of this service announcement.
I would love to see more stuff. I love to see more races and stuff like that. But from a development perspective, I think if they have a character in game, they're testing stuff, right? Like, like they have a human or whoever that they can use to play to test the systems. They don't need a dwarf to test the system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Steven did say when he was doing his live stream, he was like, he's like, oh, I think I'm an elf or whatever. I'm an Empyrean or whatever. And he's like, oh, no, wait, I guess I'm a human. So it seems like he was under the impression he could have been playing one of the elf races, and he thought he was for a second. So we might see that stuff. It could be very close around the corner.
Yeah. All right.
At least talking about Summoner should be close.
Yes.
Back in November's live stream, but they said they were going to talk about Summoners in January. So
Well,
we're still waiting on that one.
They said they were going to talk about the classes more in depth. Like a year ago, I was watching some of their Kickstarter. I guess that wasn't a full year, but like their Kickstarter live streams when they were doing the Kickstarter, and they're like, "Oh, we'll have talk about more about the classes soon." And
yeah,
they gave us the names, but they haven't given us much else. And the nodes, node 3, I know everybody wants that.
Well, I guess it's gonna be It's gonna be an interesting couple weeks. So I'm really looking forward to that. All right, next topic. Customize. We know that Ashes of Creation is going to have a cash shop. And we know, and I want to stretch this out, we know that there's only going to be cosmetics in the game. We pretty much know there's going to be ship skins, mount skins, pets, character skins, house skins, whatever. Like, there's going to be a lot of skins. And there are also going to be like skill skins. Like, for example, I think one of the Kickstarter packs included special effects for skills, if I'm recalling that correctly. So what I want to know now from you two, and we're going to try to keep this a little bit short because we're running a little bit late. I actually didn't think we would be talking about the topics that much. What sort of effect would you like to see in-game? Like, what do you want to see? Like, what sort of effect would you like to be able to buy for your characters?
Oh, flaming sword. I always love flaming sword. I want a really sweet looking flaming effect that I can put on a sword.
Okay. What about you, Grey Pelt?
I don't know. I was unprepared for this question. Penguins.
Penguins.
Okay.
As a pet, they follow you around.
What do you guys think about I'm taking this away from Guild Wars 2. Like death animations and like an animation to actually, like, I don't know, kill somebody, how finish them off. Like,
right.
What do you guys think about that sort of stuff?
Initially you see that and you think, oh, well, that's not a big deal. That's like I like things that aren't going to really affect the game. Like I want them to be able to monetize the game, and I want them to put stuff in that don't really affect the game. And I'm like, sweet, you can do that. But here's the thing. You get used to the way animations look.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a fight and I am used to seeing a specific animation when someone dies, then I can, I'm in a fight and I say, oh, that person just died to the right. Let me strafe to the left and kill this healer because that healer just died, right?
Yeah.
If you change that animation, then it just looks different. You know what I mean? And then it's like, yes, you can get used to the second animation as well, but it's just, I don't know. Like, and I like this system, but I hate this system because I like it that you have to actually earn the thing in game. You have to get a mount, and then all you're doing is changing the skin. That's great, because then I know your super fast mount you actually earn that super fast mount. The thing I hate about it, though, is like Stuffertons. Might be great, it might not be great. I don't know yet. But like, what happens, like, and this is worst case scenario, but we've probably all played games where every piece of armor looks like absolute trash unless you spend money and you get the good looking armor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I don't want to have happen. Like, I want lots of armor. I want lots of customization. I want it to look awesome. And I think WoW does this really well because you can buy mounts in WoW.
Yeah.
And they're cool, but there's tons of other mounts that look just as cool. So you never feel like you have to pay money to look good.
I mean, what I would like to see, it doesn't have to be the finish him animation. I was Guild Wars 2. Because we don't have downstates in Ashes, so that's already out of the question. But what I like to see is like death animations. For example, I bought the Intrepid, like the $500 pack in January with all the Necromancer skins. So what I would like to see is, you know, instead of being like, oh, I'm dead, I'm falling on the ground, I'm dead. What I would like to see is an animation where instead of falling on the ground, I actually burst into flames, or
I think in some of the very earliest videos that Intrepid put out, they did have different death animations for, like, rabbits.
What if it's not when you die, though? What if it's when you kill someone else? Because you're a necromancer, so when they die, you're stealing their soul. So, like, right? So everybody you kill, you steal their soul. Other people kill, and that doesn't happen to them.
Oh, dude, I like that. That is, dude, I want that now.
Right, like they fall to the ground. It's the same physical animation they had before, maybe, but like their soul, maybe it's this like green screeching skull face thing comes out of their chest, and you suck it into you, and it's like, boom, I just killed.
That sounds fun.
That sounds awesome. Like, you can do the same thing. I don't know if you're a mage, you know, you either freeze the guy, you burn him up, or as a warrior, I don't know, you cleave him into two.
Yeah. So like you kill him with fire, and it's like their ashes like go up in the sky because you burned them with fire. That doesn't happen for other people. Or like they bleed out, so you cut them in half. You have this cool looking like barbarian skin. Yeah. When you kill them, they have a huge pool of blood that goes under them. That doesn't happen for other people. So like I could see that. That'd be cool.
I'm thinking right now if it's hard to implement.
Yeah, everything's hard to implement. I don't know.
I mean, I think implementing it as your own death animation I don't think it's that complicated. Right. But implementing it as like, I want that now, but still implementing it as somebody else's, if you kill him, as his death animation, I think that would be a little bit complicated. Because for example, I like the idea, because if I do an AoE and I kill several people at once, then like they're all burning. Like, that's just awesome. But then server wise and client wise, it would have to like register at the same time.
Never underestimate the power of money, my friend.
Oh, yeah,
if they think they can monetize it, then guess what? They just hired 20 more developers, and we're going to see that in game.
Steven, I just want to say that this is going to get credit if you put this into the game. Just saying. All right, let's jump to the last topic for today, which is logging out. We actually cut on that a little bit earlier with the whole, you know, don't go AFK on a cliffside. With the way the game is set up, with, you know, there being actually you can lose loot if you're corrupted, you die. If you die, you know, you lose other things. How do you guys want logging out to work?
Something close to instantly if you're in a node. Probably still at least a like 5 to 10 second wait, and like a longer logout timer if you're out in the wild, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 40-ish seconds.
Okay.
So like instant if you're in a node. I would say like if you're in a node, like in a tavern, in your house. If you're in the marketplace, I don't know, like, so part of me likes it when it's like hardcore. Like, you have to go to a tavern or something or log out.
Yeah.
Like I think Star Citizen is doing that, where if you're flying around in your ship, if your ship doesn't have a cabin in it, I don't think you can log out. Like, I think you would die or something. Like, I don't know.
You don't want to make it so annoying that people deliberately kill themselves so they can log out.
True. Like, I think there's a lot of places where you just want to instantly. But like in a node, in a tavern, at your house, in a guild hall, that kind of stuff.
And there should be like a what happens if you Alt F4 after so many seconds, your character stands there and eventually logs itself out.
Right, but it should be a long time. Like, I think when you're out in the wild, I agree, it should be like 60 seconds. If you just Alt F4, if your computer crashes, I feel like it should be longer, like 5 minutes or something. Like, maybe not that long. Like, you don't want to accidentally crash and I died because my character was in there so long. That's not fair. Whatever they need to do, though, to prevent people from Alt F4ing, disconnecting their Ethernet cable, unplugging their computer, whatever it takes to avoid PvP. If you're in combat and you disconnect for any reason whatsoever, your character should stand there for like 5 minutes and you get killed.
I mean, I like the idea of having designated like logout spots, for example, a tavern or your freehold or your apartment, which are instant. And then I would like to say the further you go away from like your home
civilization,
node, the longer it takes to log out.
Right. What if that was racial ability of a race or a class?
What do you mean?
Think if you're a ranger and you're
out logout speed.
Right? But like, you think you're a ranger, guess what a ranger can do? He can make a camp under a tree and he can sleep there just fine, right? So boom, he gets to log out in 10 seconds. Right? So like, I don't know. I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm just saying that would be interesting.
If it takes him like 2 minutes to set up the camp and then has an hour like cooldown on it.
Mm-hmm.
For example, here's situation.
Because you have rested XP too.
Yeah, I'm a warlock. You play ranger, and I just found a legendary. Holy shit! But I'm corrupted. And the guys hunting us, they know that, hey, that guy found a legendary. If we kill him, there's a chance we get the legendary. So now we're running for our lives. We're getting chased by a bunch of, like bounty hunters. And now our node is on the other side of the freaking world. And we're like, we're not going to get there. We're not going to get there. We need to do something. If you now have a chance to, make me log out instantly without losing anything,
Right. That's crazy, but it could be powerful. It could be worth it.
Yeah,
right?
It can be worth it. But it shouldn't. Honestly, setting up a camp should not be instantly. It should actually. You need resources. Remember how early World of Warcraft, how you needed a shit ton of wood and everything to actually set up a fire? Remember that?
Yeah. And what if it was just for rested experience? Not just instantly, but like you said, it takes a long time to set up. But now I'm anywhere in the world. I can log out with rested experience and then log back in. I don't have to go back to a tavern.
Yeah.
So I can just sit outside this dungeon and then log in tomorrow and be good to go.
And the rested experience is a nice way of making it feel not so bad to go out of your way to get to a safer spot to log out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can all agree, though, right? We do not want people to be able to log out and avoid PvP and avoid losing their stuff.
No.
I think that's the biggest thing. Whatever else they do, it shouldn't be inconvenient. But as long as they avoid that, I think.
Like the only I like the immersion part because if you're out in the wild, you shouldn't be able to just Alt F4 and done and you're gone. It breaks the immersion, and I kind of don't want that for this game. But I also know that it's certain, there are certain situations where you just have to log off instantly because I don't know, something like I had that happen to me a while back. I was doing a raid on World of Warcraft, and a car crashed into my neighbor's house. All right, and there was a fire and everything. And I'm like. I have to. I'm tanking. I'm like, guys, I gotta go. Sorry.
Yeah.
I know 2%. I'm sorry. House burning. So, if they find a way.
Well, it should be the same either way. Like if I'm in game and I hit like go to character screen and it pops up and says it's like a 60-second cooldown.
Yeah.
That should be the same as if I turn off my computer because my house is on fire or I just leave or what. You know what I mean? Then my character should stay in game the same amount of time. It's the same either way. And it'd be cool if they implemented like an animation so you know what that's happening. Because I've seen other games where like when you pull out your map, your character pulls out a map so people can see you're looking at your map or you're looking in your bag. I think ESO does that. So you can see what they're doing. It should be the same thing for logging out. You're just setting up a camp, right? Maybe you put up like a little tent and you start a little fire, and that animation plays at 60 seconds where someone could still kill you, plays whether you just Alt F forward or you hit log out or whatever you're doing. And if you hit log out and you stay in game, you see your character do the animation. But either way, you have a minute that you're actually waiting.
I wouldn't mind logout time modifiers. Like if you're a corrupt player, the amount of time it takes you to log out scales with corruption. Or if you get some legendary item that can drop if you die, it takes you 3 times as long to log out.
I like that corruption one a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Especially if someone alt F4'd and it didn't matter, right? You got a ton of corruption, you got to stay logged in for 10 minutes. Nobody's going to sit around for 10 minutes, so you are just stuck, you know what I mean? So then you got to go back to a node and hope that the guards or whoever doesn't kill you. Like, that's pretty cool.
I liked it. This is also going to Mr. Sharif. If you guys implement this, Greypelt should get credit for it.
Yeah.
No,
then it's even fun for that person too, because then you have to... Am I safe? Am I hiding in these rocks good enough where I can log out and nobody's going to kill me? Or do I try to make it all the way back to my tavern without getting killed? What's the better option? You know what I mean? Like, that still adds, even though it's a penalty, I think it's still interesting gameplay for that person.
I like that idea. All right. That's all the topics that we have for today. If the chat wants, you guys can ask questions now. I have one more question that somebody sent in. I'm going to try to answer one of these questions each week. And this week, this question is coming from PhD Monster. He's asking, will there be legendary creatures to tame? One-time thing like legendary weapons or dragons? So first up, we don't know if there's going to be legendary creatures. But me personally, I would like there to be legendary creatures that you can tame. What do you guys think?
I think there will be legendary creatures in terms of creatures that there are only one of on the server.
Well, they already said the dragons are going to be so rare that only, I mean, the maximum you could have are the 5 for the castles and the 5 for the nodes. So the most you could have are 10. And if
that
this is
correct.
a big if, because it would
there's
take a lot
probably
of
at least an 11th because of the dragon that comes from like
right
an egg in a boss raid or something.
Yes,
with a timer.
Steven confirmed that world bosses and epic bosses, I know what epic bosses are, have a small and rare chance to drop eggs for dragons.
Right. So
I
the question is
assume
kind
that-
of taming, though.
Yeah, it's
like
about
getting
taming.
it yourself, not ones you're fighting.
It's not about breeding. It's about taming. So I think having like certain creatures in the world, for example, doesn't have to be a dragon, but I don't know, a big white wolf that is a really rare monster that if it gets killed, it doesn't respawn for 3 months or something. Like I like that idea, and I also can see it work towards like sieges, for example, if there is a big ogre or something that spawns once a year or something, and a guild or a node community manages to tame him, you know, can bring that thing into sieges.
I think what I would like on like legendary taming is something that like fought for you until it died, and then when it dies, it goes away from you, but it then respawns in the world for someone to tame.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you have to find a way to make it so everybody doesn't end up with these things. You need a way for them to, just like durability on items, you need a way to take them out of the game, even for people who log off for an extended period of time. So, I mean, even if it's just a timer that counts down, you know what I mean? Like you get this awesome thing, you know, the giant white wolf, you get it for 48 hours or whatever, 480 hours, whatever it is. And that's an easy implementation of it, but whatever it is, to take it out, you know what I mean? Or after that period of time, you know, the wolf decides it doesn't like you and attacks you and runs away or whatever.
It doesn't feel as legendary when 20 people have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it opens up options for other people to get it too. But I think the dragon mounts can be one of those legendary amazing things if they have different skins, right? Like,
he talked about having them skinned based on where they came from, like
yeah, which is cool then, because then they're different. It's not just, oh, I got one of the same of the 10 that everybody on every server has. It can be something different too.
All right, so we got one question, which is, should the death of a rare legendary tame trigger a server-wide message? I think yes.
I hope they're legendary enough where they would warrant the use of a trigger, right? Like you would say, that's amazing, someone just got Excalibur, like that, way to go. In chat, that's awesome, you're a badass, let's go find him and kill him. Like,
yeah,
I would want to see that cool stuff. Like in PoE, if you play Path of Exile and they start a new league, it shows you because if you don't know, they start new leagues. You start with the new level. You level up through the game, basically. But they show like this is the first person to get to this zone. This person just died, and they were the highest level on the server. So like that's cool to see, and that adds more community. I love it.
I mean,
I think I prefer the secret knowledge version of whether or not certain legendaries are available.
I mean, I would like there to be, if it's a really hard tame, I would like there to be a message across the server saying, the monster XYZ has been tamed. Done. No name,
I don't mind
no location,
the
nothing.
has been tamed message, but I don't like the is available to tame message.
Right, yeah, I agree. 100%.
No available, just has been tamed.
Yeah. And it'd be cool too if maybe it's not just a server message that pops up in the middle of your screen that says, Joe got the big wolf. Yay, right? Like that's kind of cool, but it would be better what if they could implement it within the game more? Like you're in a node, you're in the I just forgot the name, the marketplace, right? And then someone got it, and then it's like you hear a trumpet, dun da da da, and there's the town crier, and he's like, announcement, and he says it, and then you hear NPCs, and they start triggering. Hey, did you hear somebody got the giant white wolf? No way. What? Where's that? Oh, up to the north. They got this big, they got Excalibur. Like that would be even cooler. Like
that sounds like tavern NPC gossip.
Yeah, exactly. Like
that works.
Like that would be a cool way of presenting it. That's not just like, hey, guess what? You're playing Fortnite. Here's a boring, just pop up. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's the same message, but it's more interesting, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what sets MMOs apart. It's the world that we're in. It's the game we're playing. Like,
I mean, I guess I would love that. But that's all the time we have today. That's all the questions for today. And now, first up, Greypelt, thanks for jumping in.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. I really had fun today. Yeah, so now is the time where you guys can actually go ahead and plug yourself. I think you're well known within the community. You're like one of the top content creators. I don't think you have to do a lot of plugging, but why don't you just plug yourself? And yeah.
Yeah, well, if I'm well known, that's cool. Nobody knows me, I don't think, but except for you, BCG. If you want to check out my stuff, go to youtube.com/itziz, ITZIZ. Same with twitch.tv/itziz. I make different videos, and I do an Ashes Report, which is my news segment to keep people up to date, and I can't wait to get the game rolling. I can do some more stuff.
Hell yeah. Greypelt?
I'm Greypelt. I'll plug AOCwiki.net. I help with reporting on it.
Nice. All right, guys. Thanks again for joining me today. Thanks everybody for watching. Everybody make sure to check out the Discord for the latest news. Go on the website. If you want to check out the forums, go ahead. We will be back in 2 weeks again. We do this every 2 weeks with hopefully some more news from PAX and GDC. And thanks again, everybody, for watching. Stay safe, and we will see you on the Discord.
See you later.
Bye, everyone.